Item number 3, the hearing of persons desiring to speak before the Board of Education, not about the budget. And at this point, we have 3 individuals who have signed to speak for about 3 minutes. And this is an opportunity to express opinions and not necessarily at all hear back from the board, but it's our opportunity to hear from you. The first person is John Diebold, the Learning Management System Schoology. It's hard to pronounce that. John, if you don't mind giving us your address and then your 3 minutes.
My name is John Diebold. I am an employee here in the district. My address is 7104 West 21st Street Lane, Greeley, Colorado, 80634. I'd like to talk, members of the board, President DeWitt, Superintendent Lang, I'd like to talk to you tonight about an item that's on the agenda, and that's Schoology, that you're going to be looking at. Is the learning management system. I was fortunate enough to be on the committee to look at all of the learning management systems and reviewed them, and we feel that we have picked the best product that is available on the market right now for our current situation and our situation moving forward into blended learning. I know currently our teachers have struggled to use Blackboard in the intention of managing student learning. Some teachers have been very successful at it, but the majority of teachers have not used it to its full potential. The Schoology is very intuitive, and like the new iPhone when it came out, people didn't know how to use it, but the more they used it, the more proficient they became with it, and Schoology is a lot like that. It provides in-depth analytics that provide immediate feedback for students, for parents, for teachers and administrators that will allow us to help set new learning targets for students, and really an important component of the Schoology piece. And then finally, it allows us to use our current Infinite Campus system to blend the two together, so we are working smarter, not harder. And I think it's a great choice for our district, and I don't think it's the typical learning management system that we currently use, and I think the overall impact for everyone involved, this is the tool that is a great tool for our district, and it will take us into that digital age as we move toward blended learning. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you very much. The next person interested in speaking is Ms. Apricot Truitt. You can state your address for us, please.
I'm Apricot Truitt. I'm a 3rd grade teacher over at Jackson. And you need your actual street address? Is that?
That's fine.
Okay, 2905 Anchor Avenue, or Anchor Drive in Emmons. So I was also on the committee with Mr. DeBold, which I was very excited about being on. I was excited to see what our district is going to be moving for all of our students. And when I came into this committee, I came in with several different hats on. Being an elementary teacher, I first and foremost look at my students. Right now, being in 3rd grade, they're kind of in the middle of the road at that level. And so I looked at a management system that would be easy for them to use. I also have experience in kindergarten, so I also look at those little babies when they first come in, knowing that that's going to be their first experience with technology as well. And looking at Schoology, I see that this is going to be a very easy format for even our little 5-year-olds coming in all the way up through high school to implement within their classroom. I also put on the hat of blended learning. As some of you already know, I have been dabbling in blended learning. I'm going for my dissertation using blended learning, so this is a very forefront piece of what I'm thinking about at this moment. And I'm looking at ways of using an LMS to support our students in that blended learning model. And it's going to be a very simple way for teachers to put their information, their content in for students to access. And so again, Schoology is going to be an excellent choice for that. As we look back at Blackboard, it did have the capability there, but it wasn't as user-friendly for our little guys who are trying to start doing that as well. And then I also looked at the Schoology from a teacher standpoint and how I could collaborate with other individuals around the district. It's extremely important that our teachers are collaborating. They're sharing their materials, especially as we move into this blended learning model. And we don't want teachers having to recreate the rule every time they get into it. And Schoology has an excellent platform for sharing different documents and ideas and discussion formats so that teachers are able to collaborate and be able to move forward with what our students need to do for these next few years that we're going to be working at. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. True. The last person who is signed to present some information or their opinion is Ms. Jenny Volchik, please.
Jenny Wojcik, and my address 5600 West 3rd Street in Greeley, Colorado.
Thank you.
Thank you to the school board for allowing me this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Learning Management System Committee. Like I said, my name is Jenny Wojcik. I'm the 7th grade teacher at the Bella Romero Academy of Applied Technology, and I am also the Summit Site Facilitator there. Over the past year, I've had many of you in my classroom, and I've spoke to most of you at the Success Foundation breakfast about the importance of technology in our schools. When Dagan asked me to speak for a couple minutes about Schoology and what it can offer for our students, I was extremely excited. I was fortunate this year to launch blended learning in my 7th grade room, and this would not have had the success it did without the LMS Schoology. Walking into my room, you would see Adrian on his iPad logging into the user-friendly Schoology app to access the most recent lecture I posted on the functions of a cell nucleus. Lizbeth is on the other side of the room taking a quiz on Schoology that I created. It tells her and me on my iPad and hers instantly that she is just short of proficiency on the concept of cellular respiration and what tasks she needs to complete to reach her goal of being proficient. We have just tightened the feedback loop to seconds instead of a day or in some cases a week. In the middle of the room are Gabriel, Fernanda, and Angela on the Schoology discussion board debating what would happen to a cell if it did not have a cell membrane to protect it. Schoology also allows school walls to be knocked down and learning to occur 24/7. It was common for students to post me questions on homework, work on analysis questions, or to get up to date on their quizzes. With the purchase of the premium version of Schoology, parent communication will be ongoing, personalized, and will fundamentally change how they see their child's academic progress. We will also have the ability to network not only at our individual school level, but on a state and global-wide scale. I give my highest recommendation to the board to vote for the implementation of Schoology at a district-wide level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and certainly thanks to all members of the Learning Management System Committee, Search Committee. At this point, we'll look forward to the work session report from Ms. Berea.
The work session began with Chief Operations Officer Wayne Eads and Chief Financial Officer Megan Sponsler presenting a review of the proposed 2014-15 district budget. Board members had the opportunity for questions. President DeWitt then reviewed the agenda for the board's all-day work session scheduled for June 12th. Director of Secondary School Leadership Amy Szyminski and Franklin Middle School Administration presented the turnaround plan for Franklin. Ms. Szyminski reviewed the middle school reform efforts that are already in place at Franklin, and she introduced Chris Ingram, principal at Franklin, John Kleiber, assistant principal, and Eric Easter, dean of students. Aspen Falter, who was not in attendance, will also be an assistant principal at Franklin. Executive Director of Learning Services, Dr. Stacy Dattery, gave a progress update on the early college-high school program that is in partnership with Ames Community College and is proposed for the 2014-15 school year. That concluded the work session.
Thank you very much. Next item is an action item. It is the approval of the agenda, and I will entertain a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Brand?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Now on I, special items. This is an action item with an attitude. We have actually 4 different actions to engage in with respect to the budget, so I will ask for a motion involving motion number 1, please.
Is there an action? Yeah. Okay. So I'll begin with the be it resolved.
please.
Okay. Motion 1, appropriation resolution. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 that the amounts shown in the following schedule be appropriated to each fund for the ensuing fiscal year beginning July 1, 2014 and ending June 30th, 2015. General Operating Fund, $158,458,077. Dental Insurance Fund, $1,200,000. Pooter Learning Center Fund, $182,000. Risk Management Fund, $1,705,000. Colorado Preschool Program Fund, $2,034,194. Food Services Fund, $9,660,434. Governmental Designated Purpose Grants Fund, $17 million. Platte Valley Youth Services Fund, $1,466,215. Bond Redemption Fund, $10,003,722. Capital Reserve Capital Projects Fund, $860,000. Scholarship Fund, $20,000. Student Activities Fund, $1,750,000. Athletic Fund, $300,000, with a total appropriation of $204,639,642.
Thank you. It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Brea.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. I'll now entertain the motion number 2, please.
Motion number 2, resolution regarding the transfer of funds. I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 authorize the transfer of the following funds: $1,700,000 from the General Operating Fund into the Risk Management Fund, $1,755,000 from the General Operating Fund into the Colorado Preschool Program Fund, plus an additional $1,808 from the 2013-2014 General Operating Fund to the Colorado Preschool Program Fund, $330,000 from the General Operating Fund into the Platte Valley Youth Services Fund, $750,000 from the General Operating Fund into the Capital Projects Fund.
Motion number 2 has been moved. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Brea.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And now the motion number 3, please.
Resolution regarding the authorization of use of beginning fund balances. I move the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 authorize the use of the following fund balances for the purposes indicated. General Operating Fund, $2 million to cover expenses such as curriculum and the purchase of supplies and materials. Colorado Preschool Program Fund, $279,194 to cover supplies and materials for the preschool program. The Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 authorizes the use of beginning fund balance for these funds for these purposes due to the fact they are non-reoccurring expenditures and are funded from previously designated funds reserved for these expenditures.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Brea, roll call.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And now, motion number 4, please.
Resolution to dissolve funds and establish a new fund. I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 dissolve Fund 67, the Copier Services Fund, and Fund 51, the Food Services Fund, to be replaced with the creation of Fund 21 to account for food service transactions.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Brea.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. The next action item is the approval of the consent agenda, and there are a number of items, but the motion is on page 19. And I'm open to that motion at this time.
Page 19. I don't think any of us can find it. Have you got 19? Oh, I got it.
Number 40.
It's 42. Okay.
I don't have it.
You want me to go for it?
I
I'm,
have you? Okay.
got one. Did you find it? Okay. I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve items as presented on the consent agenda and authorize the officers to sign any and all contracts.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Brea, roll call vote, please.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. The next item is an action item, some information on the Prairie Heights Middle School associated with Xcel Energy. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the contract with Xcel Energy not to exceed $83,836.57 to construct and install the electric distribution line extension for electrical services at the Prairie Heights Middle School site as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Brea? Oh, excuse me. I might want to listen to you. Forgive me.
Questions?
I'm just following my script and I ignored the important person.
Well, let me say one thing about this. President DeWitt, Dr. Lang, members of the board, this is the design payment for the permanent electric power to the Prairie Heights Middle School. We would like to pay this cost as soon as possible. Until we deliver a check to Xcel, they won't put our job in their queue. We want permanent power. I would also like to make sure that you understand that this will be reimbursed to the district by the Best Grant Fund. So it's, we pay that, we'll submit it to Best and get paid in a month or two, but we want to submit the payment now to get in the job queue for Xcel. Thank you.
And forgive me for my oversight, Mr. Eads. It has been, are there questions at this point? Comments? Roll call, Ms. Brea?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. The next item, with Mr. Eads' assistance, once again, is an action item. It's associated with Best Project upgrade or update. I will accept a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the contract with SlaterPaull Architects for hazardous materials abatement at Greeley West High School not to exceed $76,500 as presented.
Second.
Mr. Eads.
Thank you, President DeWitt, Dr. Lang, members of the board. In your packet is the contract for architectural and engineering services for the West High Abatement Project. This includes designs and specifications for areas of the building that are damaged by the asbestos removal process. The cost of the design work for this project should not exceed $76,500, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. So.
Anyone with a question at this time about asbestos removal? Repair? All right. Mr. Hall?
Mr. Eads, so the design work covers the fixing of the damage caused by removing the asbestos?
Yes,
Is that pretty much
we call
it?
it the putback. When you remove asbestos that's sprayed onto wall surfaces and may have encased wiring and other things, when you remove it, you're going to do some damage, and we'll have to put that back to make the building usable. And we required stamped architectural drawings to do that work by the state. So,
All right.
Other comments or questions? It has been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Brea?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
President DeWitt, I do have a brief update on Prairie Heights Middle School, if you want to hear it.
Please be
A couple of
recognized.
sentences. I want you all to know the work is proceeding. We are currently 6.5% complete. Oh, it's a measurable percentage. That's a milestone, folks.
That is a number.
You'll see concrete has been poured in areas C and D, which are the east side classroom wings of the building, and excavation and forms are going in place for the rest of the building. And we expect material deliveries for water and sewer pipe to begin in June. And that work, including the posting of signage that will announce the detours and closures that will occur in late June for that intersection, that's all coming soon. So I just want everybody to be aware of that, be watching for it. I might suggest an alternate route. Thank you.
Wise words. Thank you very much.